the word, YouTube? You know who it is. It's your boy Big Will, back with another episode of Life After Prison. Let's run it. What's going on, YouTube? Before we get started, like and subscribe. Help me out. Help the channel. Appreciate all you subscribers. Anybody that's new, welcome. Anybody that's been here, thank you. On this episode, we're gonna speak about, first off, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Okay? But when you go to prison, there's a lot of things that you can expect, right? The fears are expected of being in prison. You know, the loneliness, the uncertainty of sleeping, the uncertainty of finding enemies from your past and your future and the present, right? You never know what's gonna happen. A lot of uncertainties. There's a lot of things you can't control, right? That goes with being out of prison. You can't control what happens in life, right? It's out of our hands, right? It's God's will, right? Death comes in life. That's the one thing we're all promised is death, right? And you never know if your day's gonna come when you're in prison or not. But with the whole Father's Day thing, my father was in prison all his life, right? And so I never seen him, you know. If I seen him, it was on visits. If I seen him, it was every 7, 10, 15 years, you know, when he would get out of prison. You know what I'm saying? My father's been in prison basically my whole life. With that, he died in 2007. Rest in peace, Pops. But I was in prison at the time, you know. I mentioned it in one of my other videos. It was a point where my father had 4 sons. Okay. One of my brothers, my brother Nick, died when he was 17 years old. And, you know, he never got a chance to get into crime and stuff, right? But my father had 3 other boys, myself, my brother Joey, and my brother Danny, right? Well, back in 2007, we were all in 3 separate jails, you know, serving time. And before we got in, my father had been out probably, I don't know, maybe 6 years. 6 years, something like that, 5 or 6 years he had been out. And within that time, we were all going back to prison, you know what I'm saying? I had been a couple times, my brother had been a couple times, my other brother had been a few times. There was at one point, we were all in prison together, in jail, in separate jails, you know. My father was a big dude, right? My father was 6 feet 8 inches tall, weighed almost 400 pounds. He was huge, right? He would lose weight. You know, he carried himself usually 330, somewhere around there. 350, somewhere around there he would carry. Big guy, right? Been in jail a lot of times for hurting people. But you name it, you know what I'm saying? He's been in jail a lot for a lot of shit, you know what I'm saying? The one thing he was never charged with was catching a body. Now, back in 2007, like I say, it was probably a few years earlier. My father had gotten out of prison. There was a point where me, my father, and my brothers were all out. But at this point, we were all men, right? So we hung together as like a father figure, but friends. You know what I'm saying? We were all still in the streets. You know, we would go to bars and drink, and we would party, and so we're all, my father was doing this with his boys like we're friends, right? But he was just, to him, he was so proud because he had 3 sons that were respected, feared. I don't know what you want to call it. Respected, I guess. You know what I'm saying? In the streets, feared by many, respected by a lot. There wasn't many people, if any, that would try and go against us. You know what I'm saying? For fear of retribution. You know what I'm saying? Again, now if I was in trouble and I couldn't get at it, my brothers would make sure it get done. Vice versa. You know what I'm saying? And that speaks on my whole family. I had a big, big family. You know, my grandmother had 21 kids, between her and my grandfather together. She had a previous marriage. He had a previous marriage. They each had, I think, 4 kids apiece before they got together. And then they had 13 kids together. If I'm counting it correctly. But I had a big, big family. Loads of aunts and uncles, cousins. And we were known throughout this city that we live in. You know what I'm saying? For years and years and years. We lived in a project, Sunset Hill. We were the biggest family there. We had a lot of pull and respect there. With that being said, 2007 comes along. My father had been sick a few years. He had liver cancer. And I'm sitting in jail one time. I'm in there with one of my uncles. I don't consider him family now. He's actually the person that set me up. Piece of shit. Rat. He's a rat like this fella. Pino, the rat, right? Anyways, my uncle set me up, but so I'm sitting there and I get a call now, and it wasn't visitation day, right? And I get a call saying visitation, so I'm like, what the fuck? As I'm walking down to the visitation, I run into my uncle. I had already been sentenced. I think I was doing 1.5 years at this time. I did 19 months. My uncle wasn't sentenced yet, right? So I see him and I'm going to the visitation room and he's like, oh, I got called for a visit too. And I'm like, your mind starts running, you know what I'm saying? Like, who the hell is this? Is it a detective that wants to question me on something that passed? It's me and my uncle together, and it's, like, what the hell's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, who's trying to talk to us? So, long story short, we get to the visitation room, and it's my father. Now, first glance, you look at him, he's broke down. He's yellow, looking like Bart Simpson, right? And he goes and he's with his wife that he had just married. I guess he met her probably 1 year prior or something, maybe 7 months prior. But he married her. My father always had a fear of dying alone, right? So he's there with her, and I'm saying, what the hell, Now, like I say, my father had that much respect and notoriety throughout the prison systems that he was able to get a special visit with me and my uncle. And it was unheard of. That stuff usually don't happen. You know what I mean? They don't make exceptions for people like that, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, my father, like I said, was well known. He knew the warden. He knew many captains and lieutenants, you know what I'm saying? I was in a no contact visit, so a no contact prison, so the lieutenant there actually let me hug my father in that visit, you know. Long story short, he came to see me on a Thursday, September the 27th, and said, son, I'm sick. But he went into the whole, I'm sorry, you know, never being there your whole life, being in prison. You know, I'm sorry for this, that. Now, in that week, I found out my father was making apologies to everybody. Prior to that, now, it had been, I'll say, probably a month that I hadn't spoken to my father while I was in prison, because while I was in prison, I was still into the street life. I still had people on the outside running things for me, okay? I still had people on the outside selling narcotics for me, you know what I'm saying? So, I had gotten word one day from my girl, oh, you know, buddy's not sending no money. And, you know, I go into a rage and I contact my boy, and he proceeds to tell me, Will, your father's been strong-arming me. Now, like I said, my father's a big dude, you know what I'm saying? He was, God rest his soul, he was. And what he wanted, my father got, whether it was by force or by voluntarily. And if he asked you for it or he demanded it from you, you gave it to him, you know what I'm saying? He just demanded that respect, that fairness, you know? Excuse me. So, he says my father has been strong on him and taking his shit. So I send a letter home to my father. Hey, listen, all this bullshit, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, my father towers over me. I'm only 6 feet tall. You know what I'm saying? 250 pounds. My father's 6'8". You know, almost 400 pounds. You know, like, my father would hit me and just break my shit. You know what I'm saying? But the way I was brought up, and there's no fear involved, you know? So I sent a letter home. Yo, you know, da-da-da, that's my shit you're taking, you know, that shit's going to support my family, da-da-da, it's supporting me up in here, blah, 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 all this bullshit. You know, who do you think you are? When I get out, you know, we're going to talk as men. There's no, we're putting the family stuff aside. Da-da-da, you know, the whole writing you off, and who do you think you are because you're this and that, you know, you're still a man to me, blah, 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 I'll take your life, the whole da-da-da, you know. So I hadn't talked to him in, like I said, a month or so, you know, a month and a half. When he shows up to visit me, I'm like, well, what's going on now? So now he sits down and he goes into the whole, I'm sorry, and, you know, dad's dying. And no, right away I stopped that conversation, like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You had many a time to come up and talk about this shit, or throughout my life, you know what I'm saying? Don't come with the I'm sorry's now, you know what I'm saying? That shit don't fly with me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I grew up in the projects because you didn't want to support me and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, the whole thing, the whole meeting goes on, you know, it's an hour visit they give. It's usually an hour visit that we have, but it was an hour visit that they gave him. Probably ran into about a 20-minute over the limit thing. Like I said, the lieutenants knew him. They let it fly. You know, so the thing I'm trying to say is that when I was locked up, my father passed away, and every year that that I would be in prison, I would have to think of that. Now, every year that Father's Day comes along, I get to celebrate with my kids. But it brings back a reminder to me that when you're locked up, you lose people. You know, and it's not right. If you're going to be there for people, you got to keep your mind straight, you know, and you got to do the right things in life. And it's something that brings back a memory of every year of being taken out of my life and losing a family member, you know. And it's not something that I ever want to. That's not something I ever want to try and experience again, you know, is being locked up and losing somebody. Luckily, I had been sentenced at the time, so like I said, I was able to go to the funeral, you know. I was brought in one car. My other brother was brought from another prison in another car, and my other brother was in another prison from another car. You know, so we were all brought in separate identified cars, right? They were unidentified state cars. But as I pulled up to the funeral parlor, one of my brothers was already there, so I had to sit in my car and wait. When I went in, my other brother had showed up from another prison. They had to sit in his car and wait. You know, we couldn't all be in the funeral parlor at the same time. I wasn't able to see my brothers, you know. I wasn't able to attend the funeral, you know. We just had to go in, see my father in the coffin and go. And it brings back a reminder, because I think I was 13 at the time, and my father was in prison, and my grandmother died, his mother. And they had taken my father down in shackles, as we all were, you know, in shackles. But they had taken my father down. But the COs at the time had let him see me, my brother, his brother, my father's brother. Like they had let my father see a couple of family members, you know. And I remember giving my father a hug at 13 years old, him in shackles. But they had waited until the funeral was over, you know. And there was nobody else there. Like, all the regular citizens that had attended the funeral had left. It was just immediate family, you know. And years later, it happens with him. You know, it happens where he passes away, and I'm in prison, and they got to take his children down to see him. And we used to have this running joke about my father, that my father's finally at his proudest in life, because him and all his sons were all locked up at the same time. And it's crazy. It's just crazy, you know. Him being a career criminal, I guess he felt we were all home, you know. And we would all joke, and he would laugh, ha ha ha, yeah, what a time, and blah blah blah, you know. It's just, but it being Father's Day, for those of you out there that are in crime, do the right thing. Be positive. Your children don't want to go through that, you know. You got to be there for your children. Do the right thing. Make the right moves in life. Make your children proud of you, you know. I never had a career day in school. You know, when I grow up, I want to be like my father. I could never say that. But when it ended up happening, I was just like my father. And I am a junior to my father. You know, I'm actually a third. He was a junior, but I'm my father's firstborn. I was a junior, you know, so all my siblings were younger than me. You know, a year, 2 years, 3 years younger. You know, my other brother that passed away when he was 17, I think I was 18 when he was born. 17 years old when my brother was born, so I got 17 years on him, you know what I mean? And He tried heroin one time, overdosed, you know, so as a man, I'm proud to be out of prison today. I'm proud to be out of the streets. I'm proud that I leave that life behind, you know. That's not something that I want to experience again, you know. And I don't ever want to be in prison and say my mother died now, or you know, my brother, God rest his soul, just passed away 4 years ago, you know. If I had been in prison at that time, it would have killed me, you know what I'm saying? But with that being said, be positive, do the right thing. It's your boy Big Will. I'm out of time. It's life after prison. Like and subscribe, hit that button. Glad to see you all. If you made it through this video, I appreciate you. Hit the buttons down below that tell you to stay a while. Subscribe, be a member. Leave a comment, tell me what you did like if you didn't like it. If you don't want to comment, no big deal. But hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. With that, I'll see you all in the next one. Life after prison. Peace.